It's clear to anyone who's come to our town in recent times that this is an imposition on our town. The work should have been completed quite some time ago. There's been lengthy periods, it appears, that the fencing has been up, blocking the traffic and circulation around the town, even though works have not been going on. So what we really need to do is look at improving that traffic and circulation over summer in particular. We're about to have a fairly major influx of Christmas time visitors, and it's clear currently that we're already approaching gridlock. On a number of occasions in recent times I've come into town and I have seen the traffic stopped from the post office corner all the way down Byron Street, all the way around the corner here and over the railway line. That's happening on a regular basis now, so imagine what it'll be like once we get those visitors here. It's also an imposition on our residents, and it's an imposition on our visitors. It doesn't look very nice, and I think it's time that we as a community said, enough is enough, fair's fair, we need to have a better outcome, and what I've put here in this motion is a number of different options which I think need to be negotiated with the developer and the contractors. There's opportunities to open up over Christmas. It's quite likely that there'll be periods when there are not contractors on site because it is Christmas and the holiday period. So let's pull down the fencing and have the circulation during that time. It's not fair on our residents, and it's not fair on our businesses that they wear the costs of these overruns. It's our community that pays for this ultimately, and I think it's only fair that the contractors and the developers actually pay the cost of that. If there's an imposition on them for opening up the fencing for better circulation, to provide better access to residents and pedestrians, then they need to wear that cost and not our community. Thanks.
Thank you. Speak again.
Question? Two questions actually. One through the General Manager to Mr. Barham. Is it true that we have no time constraints whatever on Woolworths on the completion of this work?
With respect to the 138 Roads Act approval, there was no timelines incorporated in that. At the time again, with my staff, we could have tried to set some timelines. If those timelines had been exceeded in this construction, there have been some major delays, we still would have had problems, but we in the approval we didn't put timelines in it. And we normally don't.
Right, thank you. And the second point.
Yeah. Richardson.
I thank Councillor Cameron for bringing this. Councillor, to be honest, I think this is much wording to show the community that we're seen to be doing something rather than perhaps can do something. I think it was perhaps a shame that none of us brought this to council 5 months ago, perhaps, when it might have had a bit more teeth or a bit more opportunity to have some positive outcomes. And I think this, but the important thing about this is that I think it at least tells the community that we're also aware, and we're also, in a sense, outraged by the fact that this corporate cloud seems to be growing and settling and overwhelming our town. And it is a matter of perception as much as reality. I would really call upon staff and council in general to ensure that we aren't seen as pliant, but instead we're vigilant. That we're not seen as puppy dogs, but we're guard dogs to our community's needs. Staff recommended against this, councillors don't want it, the community don't want it, and I don't want us to be bending or flexible or asking Woolworths for anything. I want any time there's an opportunity or any time that they cross a line, we nail it. Simple as that. There's no room for negotiation as far as I'm concerned. If there's a reason or an opportunity that they've transgressed, we ensure they're held to account. This is not a community-minded development where we might be able to sort of bend and support and assist. This is the complete opposite to that. So I'd love, I wish actually this would have a decent outcome. I don't think it's going to, but at least I think it's incumbent upon councillors to actually tell our community that we are also caring about what happens to our town, and we're not just going to lie over now that we've lost in courts of others.
Yeah. I'd just like to make one comment in support of this, and thank you, Councillor Cameron. Yes, a number of us have been asking for details of how this happened, why it's happening for some time. But my comment about this is, one, it's a precedent, not happened before, therefore one would hope when these sort of things happen, where you've got the potential for public access to be restricted because of a commercial development, that traffic management plan might have been viewed as being of public interest and brought to council. So I think for the staff to be aware, matters like this, it was on the radar for long enough, and that this element of it has caused public grief, commercial problems for operators, and something's got to trigger that a precedent of restriction of public access to its own public spaces was not seen as a trigger for bringing it to council, and for the close scrutiny that would have required deadlines and timelines to make sure that it didn't have an extended period of impact. Something's got to be learnt from that. Whether we need a new policy about what matters should be brought to council, if it's not clear that when they're in public interest or precedent, that should be the trigger. Maybe we need to write it down somewhere, but this is unacceptable. And I've watched developments over time in Byron Bay that have dug up the roads and laid new stormwater pipes and done all sorts of things, but never, ever seen public road and this sort of access take place. It has always been able to be done as a staged development where half the road gets closed off and the other half is done, and it's been manageable. So this case is different, and we do need to explain. Thank you, Councillor Nicholson, for bringing it forward.
Problem by writing something down somewhere. Well done, Jan.
Thanks, Bucks.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah. Reply.
Thank you, councillors. The only addition I'd say here is that I have sought advice on what compliance measures might be open to us, and in the event that that comes back with some measures that we are able to take, then it sounds like I'll be in a race with Councillor Richardson to get those measures undertaken as rapidly as possible. Having said that, I'm hopeful that putting this forward, that we are able to negotiate and get a negotiated outcome, as Mr. Lee said in public access, that Woolworths are prepared to demonstrate that they can live up to the statements, the public statements that they make on their website.
Thank you. Can I put that to the vote? Those in favour? All in favour? Thank you. Next item.